Two players accused of $1 million heist on the game's biggest stage, the World Series of Poker. I haven't seen a scandal this shocking in years, and everyone in the poker community are losing their goddamn minds. But what exactly happened here? Did these players cross the line to secure a 7-figure payday? Or were they just innocent victims caught in an impossible situation? Tonight, you decide.
It's almost inconceivable. It's really weird.
It is almost like that, isn't it?
We're all familiar with how poker tournaments work. Everyone enters the tournament, they pay a certain dollar amount, and the prize pool is distributed based on where you finish, with first place taking home the lion's share. But this tournament was very different because one specific player, Jesse Yaganuma, had a different payout entirely. If he wins this tournament, he wins an extra $1 million. Here are the payouts for the final 9 players at the table. You can see 9th place wins $150,000, and it escalates all the way up to $1.3 million for the winner. But that number is actually $2.3 million if Jesse wins specifically because of a promotion going that only applied to Jesse from an outside entity. Now, despite this extra payout, everything seemed normal at this table until it got down to the final 2 players and Jesse was still alive in the tournament. With these final 2 players remaining, it's a simple math problem. If Jesse wins, he wins $2.3 million and James wins $1 million. If James wins $1.3 million and Jesse wins $1 million, meaning in total, the players get paid out $3.3 million if Jesse wins and $2.3 million if James wins. That might sound kind of complicated, but the bottom line is simple. If these 2 players agree to a backroom deal to make sure that Jesse wins the tournament, there's an extra $1 million in prize pool up top, and those players can make a deal to share that evenly in some fashion. Now remember, this is allegedly. Allegedly, they may have made a deal or not. We do not know for sure. But we do have some pretty strong evidence that might lean you one way. So maybe perhaps these players want Jesse to win. Well, there's one huge problem. James has almost all the chips. In fact, he has over 90% of the chips in play, meaning he is a 9-1 or greater favorite to win this tournament. That means that hypothetically, for this whole thing to work, Jesse's going to need some help. And my friends, that is exactly what's about to happen. What about this hand where Jesse raises and James folds? Or this hand where Jesse raises and James folds? Or this hand where you're not going to believe this, but Jesse raises and James folds? Or maybe to mix it up, what about this flop where James flops 3 of a kind and bets and Jesse somehow folds with top pair? Or what about this hand where James raises and Jesse 3 bets and James folds? But eventually James does wake up with pocket aces, his perfect opportunity to begin to win back some chips, which is why he open jams. How would you play aces to win the most money heads up in a poker tournament? It's pretty unreasonable as a strategy with aces to just open jam pre-flop. You're going to make your opponent fold almost all of their hands, and you're going to win a small pot rather than having a chance to win a much bigger one. There were many crazy hands. Primarily, these things ended pre-flop, but there was another one that got a lot of suspicion online, where Yaganuma raised with 8-7 offsuit. James Carroll 3-bet with 8-3 offsuit, which is not a play you would make. You would want to just fold this hand pre-flop to the 2.5x that Yaganuma raised. And then Jesse came back over the top with 8-7. Crazy wild play from both players, yet somehow exactly accurate from Jesse. There was one other hand where James made a very aggressive bluff with 6-3 offsuit, where he tried to get Jesse to fold with his pair of jacks, and it did not get through. I actually thought this hand was maybe a little more reasonable than people might think for heads up poker. But the bottom line here is simple. For the remainder of the tournament, once this thing got down to heads up, it was the Jesse show with just read after read, correct move, making James fold, making the right decision over and over and over again. And the one time it seemed like James could actually double up, he just went all in to force Jesse out. You can see why this would look suspicious. At some point, people realize what might be going on here. If you realize there's an extra 1 million up top for Jesse and you see the chips just all start slowly going over to James, you might think there could be something nefarious going on. People have weighed in with many different opinions for exactly how this might have been taking place. Was it perhaps some kind of live tell in the way that both Jesse and James held their body or chips to indicate when they're strong? There is a frequently going around theory that perhaps when Carroll bet or raised odd numbers like 7, 13, 15, that kind of stuff, he was weak, and the even numbers meant he connected. These are all theories. We don't know exactly what was going on, but in my mind, the craziest one was that 3 of a kind versus top pair just folding to a flop bet when Carroll bet an even number on 766. In heads up poker, you just don't fold pairs on the flop like this. If you do, you're going to get run over. And so the fact that Yagunuma was able to just let go here when he had top pair on the flop, that is a pretty crazy fold and certainly one that would arouse some suspicion. Now, this story has not been out very long. In fact, it only just occurred last night. And I have never seen this kind of response online from a poker tournament before.
It's a real head scratcher that this heads up match is playing so slowly.
It's almost inconceivable. Carroll just decided, you know what, I'm going to be more aggressive, and every time he is, and he doesn't have it, Yagunuma seems to know. I just don't understand how he knows every time. It's just amazing.
It's got to be some kind of live read.
It's almost like these two players are figuring it out as they're going along. It's really weird.
It is almost like that, isn't it?
Carroll seems okay with it, though. He doesn't even seem like he's slightly upset. $57 million. This is going to be an incredibly difficult call.
It's a very interesting way for the 10-to-1 short stack to climb their way back 3 big blinds at a time.
To be fair, Tuckman is used to pretending there's real poker going on. He usually commentates for Hustler. Before people jump in, that was a joke, by the way. I don't need endless rivalry streams comments in the chat, for goddamn sake. There have been many tweets on this issue. Like, for example, Scott Seaver weighed in saying, tonight is an extremely telling night in the poker world for who sides with a multi-billion-dollar private equity firm over an individual just trying to play some cards. Anyone choosing wrongly can be easily ignored from now until eternity about all things. Strong words. Patrick Leonard also weighed in saying, please stop talking about the integrity. The tournament was over. Deals happen all the time. Not a single participant was affected at all. The WPT promotion has nothing to do with this tournament. And again, no players at all were affected there too. This is ironically probably the dream outcome for WPT. Please stop associating this either anything to do with the integrity of the tournament. In a quite funny move, the World Series of Poker tweeted out saying James Carroll has finished in second place in event 53, takes home $1 million. They then went on to delete this tweet. Other notable players have been weighing in on Twitter. People have been posting threads on Reddit. Twitter Spaces is finally going again. But wait, there's more. Things are about to get tremendously more dramatic. If we look at the rules here for the World Series of Poker, we can see collusion is defined as any agreement between or among 2 or more participants to engage in illegal or unethical acts against other participants. Collusion includes, but is not limited to, acts such as chip dumping, soft play, sharing card information, sending or receiving signals, the use of electronic communication, etc. This has led to a new wave of drama and accusations being levied. Should these players be disqualified because they broke the rules of the World Series of Poker? Should WPT pay out this $1 million because the players may have colluded to pay this out to ensure they win the $1 million? What happened in that backroom deal if there was one? It's actually a kind of crazy situation if you think about the negotiation if it did occur, because essentially if James was guaranteed more than 1.3 for cashing, Jesse could maybe walk away with more of the prize. But if James wanted to play hardball and said, I'm not taking it, he could effectively force Jesse to have to give him more. It's kind of a game of chicken where they're both driving towards the edge of the cliff. Now, what I would assume went down, and I'm just guessing if it did because we don't know, would be they agreed to some sort of even-ish chop so that both players could chop up the prize. But that said, who knows what these players may or may not have agreed to. What should happen to these players? Well, there are a good amount of people very upset that this happened and have been demanding for some kind of resolution from the World Series of Poker with comments like, both players should be banned for life. They should be banned. Very fishy. Investigation. How did they chop the millie? Hands down the most suspicious heads up I've seen in my life.
As I left on the road, the drama continues to ramp up, with the WSOP issuing this groundbreaking statement saying, last night we were made aware of a potential breach of the official WSOP tournament rules during heads-up play in Event 53. An investigation is underway. At this time, first and second place have not been confirmed, and neither the prize money nor the bracelet have been officially awarded. It's beginning to look like this decision might come back to haunt our two players. I have official breaking news from WPT with their statement on the matter. Because of the uncertainty surrounding this event's conclusion, we will not be paying out the $1 million check. We will instead be paying out two $500,000 ones. It's just the right thing to do. All right, that's probably not the official statement from WPT, but I do have it on a cord directly from the source that the million is going to get paid out regardless of how this concludes. Thank you for tuning in. My name is just Doug today.
All right, guys, I feel like there's going to be a lot of opinions here, so I'm going to weigh in with my thoughts. Look, I know it's tempting to just want to side with the players and give them the money, but there are a reason that we have rules, and I think it's important that we think about the reason that we have them. And so I get it that you probably assume what I'm going to say based on my affiliation, and that's totally fair. But at the end of the day, I think you just simply have to pay these people the million. I mean, what are we talking about? Guys, no one else was impacted here. It was two people, heads up for a bracelet. Somebody's got to win. And if you don't want this potentially to be a possibility, maybe don't offer people $1 million for winning a tournament when you don't know who the people are. There are some sketchy people out there. I think it would be ridiculous for the World Series of Poker to ban these people. I think it would be ridiculous for the World Series of Poker to not pay them. I think it would be ridiculous for WPT to not pay them. I think this is all just kind of ridiculous. Look, if there was a third player at the table and they were colluding against them, by all means, go to town. But when it's just the two players, it's effectively just their money, and there's nothing in the rule book when it pertains to this specific prize. I think you just got to let it roll. The right thing to do. So, gun to my head, based on how blatant some of these hands are, I think that they teamed up to make sure Jesse won. But in this particular instance, I think these guys should get paid. What do you think in the comments? I'm sure you guys are not going to have very strong opinions here, but let me know in the comments below, and make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel and turn on notifications for more breaking news. I'll see you soon.